Hi everybody, Rob here with Velocity Portfolio. We actually have a little bit different video here. I am going to be interviewing or asking some questions to an everyday member. And the idea here is to be casual. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to read them off this piece of paper I have here just to make sure I don't mess them up. I want to launch this series that I'm going to call Living on Margin. This will be episode 1. And it's going to be based around talking to people in the Discord who are subscribers to my channel and to others that are doing similar things that I am. And I really want to get into different people's strategies and how they are managing their portfolios and living on margin and living out of their accounts relative to others, different strategies that they're running, different things that they're doing, and just really kind of open it up for, again, everyday people. Because I know that some people might look at my channel and my numbers and think, wow, that's a very high number and I'm never going to get there. But it really truly is all relative. So I think that bringing people in and asking them some questions and having conversations about it is going to help everybody become more confident, uh, help with their own situation, how to get started, and so on and so forth. So this will be episode 1 of this new series that I'm going to call Living on Margin. And thankfully, I have the perfect candidate, I think, for a first video here. We have Bart on the channel. A lot of people know him as Ravenchild1. He's in a lot of our Discord channels that we share, and he is always commenting on videos and things like that. So thank you so much for agreeing to come on here. I'm super excited to get in and ask you some of these questions. We kind of chatted beforehand, and I think your situation is awesome. So if you would, please give us a brief introduction. You can go into as much detail as you'd like. He did not want to show his face, and he wants to limit how much information he's providing. Totally okay with that. So please, if you would, just introduce us and give us a little bit of information about yourself.
Yeah, so Rob, first, thanks for having me on here. I appreciate this opportunity to share what, as you just said, like we are basically polar opposites. That was what we said in our little before chat. And yeah, so my name is Bart. I live in Indiana, the state of Indiana, and yeah, so I I found Paycheck to Portfolio. I found Sean and his community first, and then I also through YouTube, which is where I found everybody. Honestly, I found Gob with fully invested Fi. I found him next, and then through fully invested Fi, I found Rob, and also through YouTube as well. I found Rob with Velocity Portfolio, and yeah, I also oh that's right, yeah. I also found Recycle Your Money Mike with Recycle Your Money as well,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, every one of these creators has had an influence on me, and every one of these creators has had a style that I've basically imprinted on myself.
That's
If you
great.
want to feel, if you want
Yeah,
to get into some of the questions here, I can start going if
Yeah,
that's what you want.
absolutely. Thanks for the brief introduction. So I'm going to ask 9 questions, and we can kind of sidestep these, and you can go into as much detail, and we can have follow up questions or whatnot. But
Yep,
there's
sounds
just
good.
some main topics I want to cover to make sure that we are getting the information that we want to get. So let's just jump right into it. So the first question: what did your life look like right before you decided to live out of your brokerage account? And I know that you are not fully living out of it right now, so you can go into that if you'd like as well.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, like Rob said, I'm not living out of my portfolio 100%. Um, I um, I followed the Spark to Fire series. So actively right now, the Spark to Fire series with Paycheck to Portfolio. He deposited $500 a month into a brokerage account that he um, has slated for his 18-year-old daughter Emma, and I saw that I had at that time the $2,500 that you need to have a margin enabled E-Trade account, and I was like, you know what, let's do it. And um, right before that, I one of my biggest things was I'm a saver. I'm a saver at heart. I know what it's like to not have money coming in, and I know what it's like to spend on my credit cards, and I know what it's like to watch the interest just drag away at my payments. And I know what it's like to I know what that's like, and I hated it. So as soon as I got my job, as soon as I got my income, one of my biggest things, one of my biggest gripes was, what am I going to do with the cash that I'm saving? Because having cash just in an account is, I'm losing value to inflation every single second. And I'm also, I can put this in multiple investments, but which one's the best? And that was, like I said, I followed Paycheck to Portfolio that sparked a fire. And so I started doing that. But yeah, basically right before it was, I had just cleared up my then girlfriend, now wife's, at the time, I had cleared her debt. She had a student loan that she only went for a year, but she had to drop out. Um, but we cleared that debt, and then we also had some car troubles that were unexpected that we cleared. And then after that point, we had $2,500 left over, and I'm like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's go.
Nice.
So
That's great. Second one, what was the quote aha moment when you realized a traditional W-2 job or traditional fire being where you deposit and
Financial
invest the
independence, retire
remainder,
early, of course,
right?
of
Yep.
course.
So traditional, we're calling like the 30 to 40 year, put as much
Yep.
as you have left over, if it's $500, $200, whatever it is. So what was the aha moment when you realized that that traditional job and traditional fire um, lifestyle wasn't really the goal any longer?
So yeah, actually, I can. This goes back a while for me. Um, when I was younger, younger relative, I'm 22 years old at this moment, so I'm a lot younger than a lot of the people. Maybe not a lot, but I'm a lot younger than the average age of the people that
I think
are
so.
in these channels
Yeah.
and doing this actively. But I, from a very young age, even before I met my now wife, I've known that to, I've always wanted to have a stay-at-home wife. I've always wanted to be able to provide all that we need in terms of finances, and then to allow my partner in life, which obviously now I have a wife, but at that time I've known that I was wanting to provide for her in that way. I wanted to make sure that I was able to cover all of our dues and have fun and live life, but not have to worry about, hey, where's our next, meal going to come from? Because like I said, I've been there. I know what that's like. And I've never been homeless, thank the Lord for that, but I have definitely had food insecurity problems in my life. And the aha moment was basically, I found there was a channel called Dividendology.
Mm-hmm.
The creator of it is, his name is Eli, and he, before all of um, before the cornerstone of like covered call income funds really hit the market, he was the biggest proponent of basically retiring off of dividends. So he was the very first one I found at this point, like 4 or 5 years ago. And I've always known that I've wanted to do something similar. So he he held like 43% of his portfolio was in SCHD, which is a 3% dividend growth stock. He had a bunch of single ticker like Microsoft, Google. No, I don't know if it was Google, but Meta. Nope, wrong one. Uh,
One of those tech
a bunch
stocks.
of Verizon, uh, Realty Income, a bunch of tickers like that. Yeah. Um, and I saw him, and he said, according to the projections, in 10 years' time, I will be completely free. This portfolio will pay for all of my lifestyle, including inflation. And it's like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
that's insane. What?
Yeah.
And I didn't even realize that was possible when I first found him. And then that's, like I said, I found Sean with Paycheck to Portfolio, Gob with Fully Invested Fi, and Rob with Velocity Portfolio. And I knew immediately, yep, this is what I'm going to do. This is absolutely what I have to do, because this is going to, at the time, it was, my wife is working my wife is working as we speak, but eventually this portfolio will replace her paycheck in order to support our life. So that way she can stay at home and be a homemaker, and we can use this to provide and cover the differences. And I'm also working to get a better pay, better job, things like that. But that's this portfolio was the basically the bridge between, okay, we're going to put some money into it now, get it going, get it started, and then once it's up and running enough, that's when I'm going to have my wife quit her job and stay at home. This will be my secondary income.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, there's just the aha moments can be different for everybody, but I think yours and mine are a little bit similar. I aspire to eventually have my wife be a stay-at-home at some point too. The problem is she makes more money than I do at the moment. She's a nurse, but it still might come to the point, if and when we have a second child, that it makes more sense for her to be stay-at-home than pay for childcare and things like that. So especially if I keep doing side ventures and whatnot, but yeah, cutting 40 years down to, even if it takes 10 years in this strategy, is a 75% improvement, right? So
Yeah,
um,
if I cut my retirement down to 10 years, I will be 32 years old.
I mean, that's
And by
incredible.
that time, I know for a fact my wife will be um, a stay-at-home wife at that time. If that if it takes until I'm 32 to retire, I am ahead of 99.9999
Absolutely.
repeating percent of all Americans and basically everyone around the world.
Absolutely. Yeah, I
And
mean,
that was that was another aha moment I had. It's like, even if this takes Sean, he has his tool, the fire model pro, the uh, fire model calculator, things like
mhm.
that, which basically project into the future. When are you going to be free? And it's like, everyone's like, oh yeah, and for me it's going to be 4 years and 3 months. For me it's going to be 2 years. For me it's going to be 6, 7, and it's like, for some people, they're older, they're closer to retirement age, they're farther along in their financial journey, and I'm just starting.
Mhm.
And 10 years for me is a lot different than 10 years for other people. 10 years for somebody else might be they're now 80, they're 70 now, they might be 80. And that's just, it really makes me think about how fortunate I am to know this and to learn it. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to come on, was because, hey, I am living proof of there's a there's another way, and there's a way to start small. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm starting small.
Yeah, and you're 22 years old. I mean, I was buying cars and blowing money in my 20s. I didn't even figure out. I didn't really get my finances order until I was like 32. So, I mean, you're 10 years ahead of even me. So, if this video touches one person that's in their early 20s and they start getting started in investing, then I think that's incredible. So, yeah, you're the perfect person to bring on in this situation, I think. And perfect segue into the next question. You were mentioning your wife. How did she and your family, if there were any other family members involved in telling them about this, how did they react when you first told them about the concept of living out of your brokerage account and what it entails? Was there a lot of reaction, and what was it?
So, yeah, my wife, I she has a lot of patience, and I'm really, really, really fortunate and really happy that that's the case. Um, so there was a long time where I actually thought I was just going to try and day trade. I was going to try and day trade and make it work.
Hmm.
And eventually, once I found these systems, I was like, you know what? I'm going to day trade and put 50% of the profits into the paycheck to portfolio system, or the velocity portfolio system, and just that's going to be my pay. That's going to be my steady, like, bond paycheck right there. And she said, that's risky. I don't want to do that. Okay, fair enough. But then I told her, well, if you let me put $500 towards this, eventually this will pay for 3, 4, 5 of our bills in a year, 2, 3 years time. It's like, okay, how does that help us? Well, if one of us lost our job, those bills would be paid entirely. We would not have to worry about it. And she was like, oh, Ah, okay, I get it.
Nice.
Yeah, we should do that.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah, she didn't I wasn't able to show it to her until I pulled up the Fire Model Pro calculator and it had the chart projection, and I said, "Okay, pick a bill." And she chose our phone bill because that's like $230 a month for us because we have Verizon and a bunch of other stuff like that. And I'm like, "Okay, according to this chart, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it'll be 1 year and 5 months from now, our portfolio will be able to pay for that entirely, assuming we change nothing right now. We deposit our $500 a month. A year and 4 months from now, or 5 months from now, or whatever it was at that time, we'll be completely free of that."
That's really
She
cool.
was like, "Wow, okay, I get it." And yeah, from there, she was full for it. She was absolutely full for it.
That's a good idea, breaking it down to one bill like that. I have a hard time
Yeah.
articulating things, and when I was explaining to my wife, I was like all over the place. I was excited, and she just like looked at me. She's like,
Yeah.
"What? What are you talking about?" And I was like, "It's gonna work. I promise. It's gonna, you know." So it was like,
The
yeah,
numbers don't lie, but how
it,
do I
it didn't
make you
go as
believe
smooth.
that? Yeah.
That's for sure. That's a really good idea to break it down to like one bill like that, and like a time frame. Like, hey, by just doing this, it'll be covered in X time. I think that's brilliant. That's a great way to lay it out for them. Going into so more of like the strategy and things like that. Let's go into the next question. So walk us through the mechanics of your particular system. How do your monthly bills actually get paid out of your brokerage account? I think you're just floating one bill at the moment. So how are you managing all that? Like what brokerage are you with, and what are some of the
Yeah.
mechanics?
So yeah, I'm with right now I'm with E-Trade. I'm actually going to be moving to a different brokerage account or a different brokerage here soon, but I'll get into that in a minute. But right now, the one bill that I float is my car insurance bill, and that's $114 a month. I only have and it's for both my wife and I's car. It's um, it's only liability. That's why. So it's so low because one, I live out in Indiana and everything is a lot cheaper than say California as an example, but also um, it um, it's only liability. It's not full coverage because we have old beater cars. I've had the same car for I want to say 4 years now, and I put 60,000 miles on it, and it's a 2003 Nissan Altima. So if you do the math, it's older than me.
Good for you.
I'm 22. That car is 23 years old at this
Good for
point.
you. That's great.
So, but yeah, right now that's the only bill I pay out of the account, and I am with E-Trade as we speak. Um, I have a 12.45% margin interest rate, and so when I first started with the Spark to Fire, um, I worked up to get a blended yield of about 16 to 18%, depending on distributions. And I was comfortable with that because it was about 4 to 5% net spread. And I also at that time wasn't really floating a bill. I was letting the cash sit there and I was using that to invest more because I hadn't started using the actual Spark to Fire. Um, then eventually I started, okay, let's just float this bill, float the car insurance bill, and have that be that. But um, I'm actually going to be changing how I work things um, with the mechanics and that sort of thing. Um, not shortly, probably in 5 to 6 months' time, but eventually I'll be changing it. But so there's a creator among the fire community. It's Mike with Recycle Your Money. If you guys know who he is, he has a $700,000, almost $800,000 portfolio, and he just borrows against it to pay himself, and then during market corrections, he levers up, he adds margin and that sort of thing. And with the way that I want to use this portfolio, that is precisely how I want to do it. Because, like I said before, I'm a saver. I'm a saver at heart. So the net spread that he talks about in his videos, that is absolutely me. And the other thing is this is not taxable income. That's one of the reasons why I was drawn to it, because I was thinking to myself when I was looking at the paycheck to portfolio, how much of this is tax drag? How much tax drag does this make? And I haven't found any resources on that, but I know for a fact that the recycle your money method has zero tax liability for it because it's all a loan. It's margin.
Hmm.
So eventually what I'm going to be doing is once I get up to, so right now, and this actually leads into the next
I was
question
just
as
gonna say
well. So
that.
I'm going to
Yep.
sort of skip you. I'm going to
Yeah,
skip
no,
your,
that's perfect. The next one was what does your balance look like between dividend growth options and utilizing margin? So yeah, go ahead, dive into that.
yeah. So the total value of my portfolio, and I'm on the paycheck to portfolio dashboard right now, is $7,678. So just uh, almost 750, give or take. And right now I am floating. Let me go to the ledger tab just to show. Wait, no, dashboard. There we go. I'm floating basically 2,250 in margin, which leaves me with a net account value of $5,431.
Okay.
And um, yeah, I actually use some of this. I for a while I used the brokerage account as a um, for a while I just used it as like a savings account because nothing had really come up. There was no bills that I had, so I was like, you know what? Let's just keep the money going in there, keep it in there, keep the equity up. That was one of the things I always liked was keep the equity percentage as high as possible. And then um, my grandparents, they live out in New Jersey, and they they celebrated their 60-year anniversary.
Wow.
So my parents, um, they weren't able to get out there for the official party that um, they planned, but they needed some financial help to get out there. So what I did was I used $1,200 a margin against the account, and I gave that to them to get there,
Wow.
and that was like a prime example for me of like, yep, this is exactly why I'm doing this. This is this is exactly why I am doing this fire, this whatever you want to call this. So
That's very cool. And yeah,
yeah,
that's a great use of it. I mean, obviously we're paying bills and stuff out of it, but it's amazing to be able to give anything back to anybody in that regard. So I guess that kind of segues into the next one as well. Is that was probably the largest expense or amount of money you had taken out of your account
yes,
since starting this
absolutely.
strategy. So perfect segue into the next question. How do you manage the psychological aspect of seeing your quote checking account, which is your brokerage account now, right? Because you're partially living out of
Yep,
it by floating a bill when it fluctuates with the market. So say you pulled that money out to give to your grandparents or help with your grandparents, and the market, as we've seen, drops 2 or 3% the next day, and all of a sudden you're like, oh
yep.
well, that's a huge drop in a 48-hour period. How do you psychologically manage that in your own brain, and do you tell yourself things? How do you comfort yourself, I guess, in those situations?
Yeah, so this is, yeah, like you said, this is the first big drawdown period that I've had. For the past 2 months, the market's been like slowly declining,
Mm-hmm.
making lower highs and lower lows. Uh, and I've that was right around the time when that started. That was right around the time when I really started to dive into the recycle your money method and seeing what that is. And he keeps saying in all of his videos, this is not a fast process. The day to day almost doesn't matter. Over the course of 4, 5, 6 years is when this will actually work. This is not the day to day means nothing. That's the same thing I've had to tell myself was, yeah, I'm down on total return for my portfolio for a while. I've been down, I want to say 3% for a good while, which my account was relatively small, but still, and if I was on a bigger account, that would be a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about it is the day to day in 5 to 10 years time, this little correction is going to, I'm not even going to remember this. I'm not even going to remember any of it. And I just have to, I remind myself of that fact. Like in 10 years' time, I'm not going to remember any of this unless all of a sudden the stock market completely just dives to zero across all tickers and all of everything, which is never going to, almost never going to happen. I don't think it'll ever happen.
Yeah, it's true. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't really start fully investing until not living out of the brokerage, but like actually like focusing on investing like I should be until COVID time. That's kind of when I started coming across YouTube and started taking my finances
Yeah, fair enough.
seriously. And obviously, we had a huge drawdown in a couple of months period.
Yep.
But even now, like I can barely remember. I mean, obviously, I remember that it was bad and people were panicking and things like that. But like I barely remember like what days the market was down or up and how much. Like I'd have to go back and research. There was no like one single day
Yep.
where you just don't remember it. I mean, I guess if you're watching it every day, but even now, like there's days I don't look at the market at all. Like Tuesday through Thursday, I don't do a lot in my account. Mondays and Fridays are like the majority of it. So, yeah, like you said, like if you're sitting there staring at the market every day and checking your tickers and your balances, then if you don't have a handle on it, you can definitely drive yourself crazy. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I've definitely done that. I've been staring at the, the paycheck to portfolio dashboard, the training academy, and I've stared at my E-Trade account, and it's like I've worked myself up into a frenzy because I all of a sudden now I'm down $40 today. Well, I'm still up technically, but and then I've watched my account go down and down and down, and it's like, oh, this sucks. I hate
Yeah,
it. But just like I just said, in 5, 10 years time, I'm not going to remember today. I'm not going to
yeah,
remember this drawdown. I'm not going to remember it at all. So just remembering that this time horizon is not today or tomorrow, but multiple years from now is the only way that I've really been able to like, okay, the only way that I've been able to like take a breath and just relax and stop worrying about it.
yeah. No, it's great. I always hear about this crazy statistic. Side kind of a rant here. Is some of the best investments or investment accounts in the world are janitors and people that work for companies that never touched their account. Money just went in and auto invested like a 401k or something like that, and then they pass away. And they go and they look at their accounts and their gains are insane because they just let it do its thing. And obviously, we're talking about a 30, 40-year time period, but there's a lot to be said in that messing with it or looking at it every single day leads to emotions, which leads to generally bad decisions. Um, so sometimes the best thing you can do is just leave it alone and let it do its thing. So jumping into the next one, what has been the biggest unexpected roadblock or mistake since you started investing? And it doesn't have to be since living out of your account, but just investing in general.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so for me, definitely, um, I've been as I've watched the market correct for the past month or two, or however long it's been correcting for. Um, I've thought, oh, maybe I should short the market, and then finally one day I bought a couple of like inverse positions, and then immediately I lost like $40 between from what I bought immediately, and it's like, oh, that sucks because the market for the inverse went back up. The
Mm,
market went right back up and recovered, and I just bought at the lowest low to short the market, and it's like, oh, that sucks. And I've done that a few times, like not specifically with shorting the market, but I've done stuff like that and like speculative purchases before, and I keep making that making that mistake also because I keep watching the portfolio and watching the market and things like that all day and every day. So yeah, that's absolutely the biggest mistake I've made. Um, for roadblock, I don't really think I've had a roadblock. Yeah,
yeah, you're still
I've
so
been able
young.
to.
Yeah, I don't think you've
Yeah,
had. You'll hopefully you won't get there, but you'll probably have one at some point.
yeah, absolutely. I've definitely had a lot of roadblocks in my life in total, but not with like my brokerage account specifically.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's like you said with the inverse stuff. It's a little bit day trading ish, right?
Yep.
Trying to catch a low, sell at a high. I That's definitely my biggest mistake too. Is I thought I could be a day trader like 4 years ago, and I actively did it for like 8 months, and I made a lot of money at some points, and then would blow up my account, and then do it again and make a bunch of money, and then blow up my account again. So yeah, that's definitely the biggest regret. And then a couple of Facebook and Meta purchases that I should have held on to. That hurts me to
Yeah.
look at today. Twice I've been in Facebook slash Meta back when it IPO'd, and then recently in 2022.
Yep.
And I look at it and I'm like, oh God, if I would have just
You would have
held.
been up by like,
Oh, it's insane. It, the
yeah, you would
amount
have been
I
up
would have
by
been
a
up is
lot.
larger than my gross account value right now. So my account would be like triple the size. Yeah, yeah. It
No!
makes me sick to think about. I'm like, ugh.
Oh, that hurts. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Ouch.
yeah. So we all, but most people have those kinds of stories because that's what emotions do,
Yeah.
right? Everybody's
Yep.
panicking. I in 2022 when I was in Meta, people were talking about it. Ad spending or ad income was going down, and I thought, oh my God, they're going to go to zero. So I sold, and
If only you knew. Yep. Yep.
and if I sold at the high, obviously hindsight's 2020 always, but
Yeah, of course.
Meta ended up hitting like 750 at one point in the last like year. So, yeah.
Yep.
Anyways, let's move on. Next
Yeah.
question.
Yeah. Yes.
How do you handle down months or market corrections? I think you've kind of gone into that already, but
Yeah.
is there anything
I've answered that a
specifically you
little bit.
do?
I'm learning actively, like even today, to ignore it. Um, because right now my equity percentage is at sitting at 70%. I don't plan to. The only time I plan to actually utilize margin is in accordance with the recycle your money method, which is basically when the market dips by 10 or more percent, I'm gonna lever up, but I'm never gonna lever up 100%. I'm never gonna use all of my available margin to buy shares at the relative low because if it goes lower, then I'm screwed. I get margin called.
Mm-hmm.
So my method is going to be I'm going to use a quarter, 25% of gross value. I'm going to take that out on margin and I'm going to buy. And then if it keeps going down for a minute, then I'm probably going to do another 25% of the new number, whatever that might be, of my available margin. And then so on and so forth until it starts to recover. Because I'm 100% certain it will recover.
Mm-hmm.
It just might be 1, 2 months, maybe 1 or 2 days. I have no idea. But yeah, right now I'm just learning to ignore it. That's the biggest way I'm handling down months or a market correction is just learning to ignore it.
Yeah, I've mentioned it in my videos. Is you have to be a little bit of a robot, emotions wise.
Yep.
And I learned that from day trading. Is I'm not the only one, but you usually make bad decisions when you make a decision on emotion. So becoming a little bit of a robot in those emotions of the market and just knowing that the market rises 75% of the time and has always come back. And if it doesn't, for whatever reason, we're going to have much bigger problems as a
Yeah.
whole. So, yeah, you just have to learn how to tune that out a little bit. And it's not easy. I still struggle with it. And I'm pretty good at it. I have people that tell me I'm pretty good at it, but there's still some times when I'll have like a large bill come out or something like that, and I look at my account and the market's down. I'm like, oof, that was not a good time for that bill to come out or that large expense to come out. But
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I just have to put my phone down and get back. Sometimes you just have to get back to living life and
Yep.
trusting the system in the process. So not easy, I know.
Yeah. I took out that $1,200 cash, and then immediately the next day I was down $300-400 total on
Hmm.
my account, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that hurts. And then in my emotion, I bought, let's short the market, see if I can gain some money back. And then immediately the market started recovering. The moment I bought it, it's like, oh, that hurts.
And that's the gambler's
Yeah.
mindset is let's
Yep.
get it
Really
back.
is.
You drop $100 on a blackjack table and they kick your butt and you're like, you know what? I'm gonna put another 100 down because I can get it back, and then you lose that. And some people fall into that
Double or
trap.
nothing.
Yeah,
200, and then you lose that. Okay, 400, and then you lose that. And it's like, when does it stop?
yep, exactly. And that's I hate. I don't really like the references between the stock market and gambling. A lot of people are, oh, they're alike. They're really not. But when you have that mindset, they are. So if you have a gambler's mindset in the stock market, it absolutely can be like that, and even worse because there's things like margin and things like that. So yeah, you just have to be really careful. What we
Yeah.
got?
At least with a casino, the only amount of money you can use is your own money that you bring in. But with margin and the stock market, you can use something like leverage. You can use margin. You can use leverage to completely screw yourself over.
Mm-hmm.
So in some ways, it's even scarier than gambling. But in other ways, it even it works even better, especially when you follow a true, tried and true system.
Yep.
And that's what the paycheck to portfolio system is. That's what Rob. That's what you're doing with Velocity Portfolio. You're following this system because it's worked, and the numbers support it, and the numbers prove to you that it is working and it has worked. You haven't gotten margin called yet. Yeah, you're below your 60% equity that you want. I think you were at, what was that, like 54 or 56%,
About
something like
54-ish
that,
right
right?
now, yeah.
Yeah, 54%.
Hmm.
Yeah, you're still 6% below where you want to be, but you're not near a margin call at this point. And we've been declining for the past 2 months. So even despite that, you're still sitting relatively, of course, relatively pretty.
Yep. And that's and
So
that's that's a good that's a good conversation to have real quick because I get asked a lot of times, well, aren't you afraid of getting margin called? Well, yeah, of course, everybody's afraid of getting margin called, but the 60 or 50% threshold that most people are using in this space, that's still about 20% typically above what a margin call is. Your account value has to drop to 30% before they would margin call you. So there's some minute numbers in there and things like that, but
yeah,
generally speaking, your account would have to drop another 20% to even be at risk of margin call. So we build in, and that's the importance of following a system, whether it be fully invested FI, be paycheck to portfolio, be mine, it be recycle your money, dividend domain, any of these guys that are doing the same stuff that we're doing. We all have different uh, little niche strategies that we're running inside of it. Like I sell more options, they don't. They do some different things that I don't do. But it's all a system and a strategy and following that and making sure that we are managing our equity at the end of the day. We're not going down to 30% equity or 35% and living on the edge. We still have a little bit of a buffer in there, and that's where it's really
yep.
important.
And the other thing is Gob. I love his free spreadsheet that he has, which
Mm-hmm.
it was free for a while. Now I think he now charges for it. But um, part of that spreadsheet is he goes over it every single week almost. But
He does.
uh, part of that is like his margin health, and he has like a little section dedicated to his margin health. And he also has what is called like margin amplification, which is basically a ratio of how much you have this much equity, and if the market drops by this much, that's equal to your portfolio going down by this much. Like for a quick example, if it goes down by 20%, the market drops by 20%. Because of margin amplification, your portfolio is going to go down 30%.
Mm-hmm.
And he has that number for his own portfolio right there in just in his spreadsheet. But that's another thing to be wary of, and that's why a lot of these systems keep 50% at the minimum. Keep 50% at the minimum. If you can, cut back on your spending. If not, then reevaluate your finances if you can. Um, the margin amplification, a 30% correction is equal to like a 45 or a 50% correction in a margin amplified portfolio. And Gob, he's very transparent. That's one of the things I love about Gob as well is he's very transparent. He goes through everything that he does with his money and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to remember the last video that I watched of his, but it was like I can survive a 18% correction at this moment because 18% is equal to the 30% um, equity that could bring me down. Because yeah, he's at 50% equity. He would drop down to that 30%, which is a. I'm trying to. I'm not remembering, but
I
yeah, we. I think everyone gets it. I
Yeah,
hope so.
no, yeah, no. I know what you're talking about. He's. I think he's the only one that really goes into the margin
Tracks
drawdown
that.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
mean
why I wanted
it's
to mention it. Yeah.
yeah. I think I've tried to do that in the past, and I'm just not smart enough to figure out that whatever numbers he's using, but that formula.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I feel like I would be explaining it wrong or doing. Like I said, I have trouble articulating things
Hey,
sometimes. So I'm
I
like,
just tried to explain it wrong. I just tried to explain it, and
yeah,
I definitely butchered
yeah,
it.
no, for sure.
So
Watch his videos, guys, if you haven't yet.
yeah, absolutely.
So, well, to wrap it up, we got one last question. So everything that we've said, what is your ultimate goal or next milestone for your portfolio and your lifestyle? So you're floating one bill now. You've recently started
Yep.
living out of the account. You're young. you're in a perfect position, in my opinion, to really be getting going on this. You're ahead of most people at your age, almost all people at your age. So what's the
Yeah.
next steps for you?
So there's definitely a few steps, but I'll try and go as quickly as possible through them because there's a lot of goals and milestones I have. Um, the first goal is to get about $20,000 into the account for the net value. The net value equal to 20,000, which if I keep putting only $500 in is going to take a long time. So uh, I'm definitely looking towards how can I get my income up and that sort of thing to put more money into that account to get to that net of value faster. And the reason that number is the next goal is because after 20,000 net, I can live out of the account entirely. I can deposit both my wife and I's paycheck into our brokerage account and then live off of it completely, following the recycle your money method.
Nice.
Um, but for now, what I'm gonna do is the immediate milestone is just putting the money in and just following the system. Um, the Lord has given this information to me, and uh, He's given me this information. He's given me this knowledge, and for the portfolio specifically, I need to. One of my callings is I want to help people financially, and I am living proof that this is helping me, and also this is helping multiple people. Rob, it's helping you. Gob, it's helping him. Sean and Mike with Recycle Your Money. All people that are actively living in what is essentially a modified fire at this moment.
Hmm.
And there are people in my life that are levered up and they're using debt to pay for their lifestyle when they can't truly afford it. And if I can show them that there's another way, if I can show them that there's another instance or a different way to live your life that still allows you to live your life the way you want, that's my goal. That's one of the biggest goals with doing this fire and having my portfolio. And then the last big goal I have is getting the account big enough to comfortably have my wife stay at home. Once my wife is stay at home as a stay at home lady, um, we that's when we're going to be looking into having kids. And the sooner we get we get the portfolio up and running to um, sooner we get the portfolio up and running to about that $20,000 mark, like I said, um, that's going to be when we can fully okay, all our eggs in this brokerage basket. Let's go.
Nice.
And that's when I'm going to have her step down from her position and just go for it.
That's incredible. When you hit that point, we're gonna have you back on,
Oh,
and
absolutely. I was
that'd
thinking
be a
that.
fun one.
I would love to come back.
That'd be a fun one. Like, I'd love to do updates as well. See where people are. Hypothetically 6 months, a year down the road, and just see how this is going for everybody. I'm hoping to get a steady stream of people and repeats, and really kind of build this out. And again, the more people we can help, the better, right?
Yeah, of course, of course.
I really, really appreciate you coming on. I know that we fiddled around for a little bit before actually recording.
Yeah.
We could talk forever. It's just, when you're in this space, we typically like talking about this stuff. I really, really enjoyed it. I could talk all day about it. So I appreciate you coming on and recording and volunteering to be on the first one and be on the channel. So thank you again for your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I hope that more people, as if they watch this video, if and when they watch this video, I hope that they take something away from this. And I will be in the Velocity Portfolio Discord channel, so feel free to tag me, at me, ask questions. Rob, if you have more questions, feel free to ask. Obviously, you have the main questions here, but yeah, I'm really glad that I was able to do this. I'm really glad that you had me on, and I will absolutely be coming back at some point in the future. Don't know when, but at some point in the future, I'll be coming back.
Thank
I
you.
have no doubt about
Yeah, I
that.
appreciate it. If you guys are interested in being in a video, let me know in the comments or in the Discord. If you have any questions for me or Bart, feel free to jump into Discord, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have.